Yeah. So we back here with the league. We got Otshabile here. Otshabile. If you say it right, if you're Dragon Ball, well, no, not Dragon Ball Z. If you're a Naruto fan and you read Naruto or watch Naruto, you know the Otsutsuki clan. Uh, her name looks like that, but it's pronounced Otsobile. Otsobile. So there you go.
Thank you.
I'm Jay, your host, and we're here with Research Geographic League, making get some practice. I wrote it down. Making the conversation more about conservation.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I just realized today, during our meeting, that the only difference, this is probably stupid, but just me being dumb, but conservation in conversation is just the swap of the swap of the V and the S.
I wonder if there isn't really a relationship between the words, like they're not related words, are they? But I know that I usually, when I'm talking about conversations and conservations, I easily interchange.
Yeah, mix them up.
That was a good spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that as like marketing, like whatever. Put it on a shirt.
Yeah,
it kind of makes the little recycling sign,
Yeah, actually, I've been recognizing more and more that conservation itself is about good conversations.
Yeah.
Because we always talk about how there's a lot of conflict in all of conservation.
Yeah.
And at the heart of good conservation is the ability to manage conflict. And that happens through conversations.
Exactly.
So those two really should.
We're talking with the expert. She does research. We're gonna have an interview with her. She does research on human and wildlife conflict. So this is her.
Don't start with the pressure. Expert.
That's her. That's her thing. You're not about to argue with it. She is the end all be all on this.
I will say that I do like conversations about conservation. So if that's what being an expert is, then
hey, look, that's your stuff. That's your stuff. So let's see. Trying to think of anything any other introductions. Happy Thanksgiving if you're just not seeing this, if we don't mention it anywhere else in later videos. What I mean. Anything you got starting off, like any introductions, any new stuff?
Nothing new, but just happy for the weather change, seasons changing.
Yeah.
We live in a planet or a universe of cycles, and it's always exciting when you see another cycles. Little beings on globes that are spinning, and sometimes the only way we notice that we're moving is when night turns to day, summer turns to winter, to fall, and then winter. Then we notice that, and when good times turn to hard times turn to good times, then we know our life. Grateful for that. So Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Also, I should have gave you a more formal introduction to the new, which is about. You know what I'm saying? So, Otshabile, you'll see it in her interview, her spotlight. But give you a brief overview. She's a PhD student. I'm not gonna tell you where unless she tells you, just for safety purposes. She's a PhD student, and her dissertation and her research, her specialty, right, is in, like I said before, human wildlife conflict. So a lot like, I guess we're all kind of studying the same thing just in different contexts, but the intersection between wildlife and people and where problems arise, she's a mediator. She studies the mediation and how to improve that mediation and improve the circle of life.
I'm very proud that we've talked enough about my research that you can talk so accurately about it. Yeah, if anybody knows anything about a PhD, it is the difficulty in communicating what it is that you're doing. Because our work is usually so niche, and it really doesn't really. It's difficult to make it make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So, all right. I think that's enough introductions. I've said I'm taking my practice. This is at the end, the top here. Yeah. So, what we talking about today?
Yes. So we're going to talk about. I thought today I'd like to talk about something that's been on my mind, which is the relationship between science and indigenous knowledge. And that's been on my mind partly because of my class that I'm assisting with teaching this semester. It's called Nature, Values, and Protected Areas. So, which is really to say, what are our ideas about nature and how do our values inform what we think is important to protect in nature and the way that we think nature is and how it should be protected. And in that class, we were reading this book. It's a very famous book. It's called titled Braiding Sweetgrass.
Braiding sweetgrass or sweetgrass?
Yeah. And the subtitle is Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants.
Okay.
So it's written by Robin Wall Kimera, and she's a
Interesting.
yes. Well, she really trained in botany, but she's an indigenous woman. So her love for nature started off through her relationship with plants, with the teachings of her ancestors. And her entry into botany was out of her fascination with the beauty of plants.
Yes.
But of course, soon as she entered like an academic institution, they told her that beauty is subjective. That's not something that you're gonna study in science.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll put you in a botany class and teach you.
We'll teach you about what you have an intimate relationship with.
Yes. So we've been thinking quite a lot about indigenous wisdom, like what it is that is learned through relationships with actual real world plants and animals, and just the experience of living and having a relationship with that generation after generation after generation, developing a language for things that perhaps we observe but we don't understand. The languages of other animals, the languages of plants, the language of the universe, because they communicate in ways that are different from ourselves. And in indigenous wisdom, there's a lot of what is not understood is accommodated and named and acknowledged. And this is a point that she brings out in the book. And whereas in science, we name what we've discovered. So
I'd say quote unquote. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so things that are still kind of mysterious, if they are not scientifically proven,
Yeah.
they are outside of knowledge, the knowledge
Yeah.
realm.
Yeah.
Yes. So I myself I'm from Africa, but I was raised in an urban area. Just because of my socioeconomic background, it meant that I relied more on like gardening and maybe gathering from nature, like things like proteins and foods and firewood. And so I did have somewhat of a relationship with nature, but I am from the Ndebele people of Zimbabwe from my mother's side, then from the San people who have a really like sophisticated relationship with my father's side.
Oh, you say you from the developed on your mother's side, developed people.
The Ndebele, yes, yeah, from my mother's side. And then
You said the Dembele.
Ndebele, Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you said the developed.
No. Okay, yeah, that's good because somebody else might have had that too.
Yeah. I thought like the.
No, the tribes that I'm from.
Okay. I see.
Yes. Well, I say that to just show that I have that heritage, but I'm still removed from their own relationship with nature. Just because I was brought up in an urban area, and then I went to school, so I was taught like an academic way of thinking about things. Then I went to university, and then I thought I watched Net Geo to get. I read novels to get my idea of how to relate with nature, which is what happens to a lot of us. We tend, unlike some people in other parts of the world, some of us, especially ones that went through a process of colonization.
You're like, how should I say this? Wow.
Yes. So when now we become scientists before we discover indigenous knowledge.
Yeah.
And then when we become scientists,
kind of backwards.
Yeah. A funny thing happens. It's like when you're now a scientist, you feel like okay, it's valid to now talk about my indigenous knowledge.
Yes.
So the point I want to come to about the relationship between science and indigenous knowledge is I feel like we're making progress with that, navigating that relationship, valuing indigenous people, but it still feels like indigenous knowledge still has to be validated.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact word. Yeah, validated. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so okay. All right, a lot to unpack there. That's it for me because I mean I'm not okay. So let's start with one. You said where you're from. Before I found out where my genes and blood and stuff is from, I I grew up homeless, like not like we didn't own a home. We stayed in apartments or stayed with aunts and whatever. I mean, like we stayed outside, camped outside. We to me before I knew that we were homeless. I didn't know. I thought we were just camping. This just a way of life for me. You know, it's like I didn't. It wasn't like I was suffering. Like, oh man, I know how it feels to have AC. Now I don't. Like, no, it's like I didn't know how that felt.
Yes.
And then so I only knew how the wind felt, like a fire, and keeping it stoked. You know, warming rocks, laying against the fire. You know, like storming outside. So like my mother. I'm the youngest of two. My older brother, my mom is deaf and schizophrenic, but I didn't know she was schizophrenic. She used to sign to herself all the time. But I didn't know she was schizophrenic until I got older. I didn't know like what I just thought that's what deaf people did, you know. But so um, yeah, like living outside and stuff, you know, hunting animals like raccoons, turtles, a lot, squirrels, um, fishing, you know, making makeshift hooks that like you know shards of sticks with some you braid a little piece of thing, whatever. And you find some like a cricket or whatever, and then you let them bite it, and then you know kind of like get them that way. But um, a lot of different things, right? So that was just like a way of life for me, you know. And plus, I grew up mute; I didn't talk. Partly because, but mostly because I didn't need to. My mom is deaf. It's a whole game of body language. It's not, you know, you watch language.
That is such a unique experience.
Yeah,
in this, like in America.
Yeah. So and then, like you know, like other homeless people that were I didn't know at the time. Like I had a lot of my friends were one, my imagination, one, and two, a bunch of drug addicts. Apparently, I didn't know that people weren't that like that. I hung out with people that were like warming up spoons, some kind of fluid on the spoon, you know, putting belts around their arms, that kind of stuff, or other deaf people, or other just homeless people that like were mentally messed up because they were on drugs and that kind of just wandering around because we went from like homeless camp. You know, so most times we were by ourselves. She didn't want us to be around. There's a lot of danger and stuff like that and whatever. Plus, homeless people were like just like unpredictable. You know, then there's like people who like not hunt down homeless people, but there's like people that just like do harm to homeless people because they're homeless and who's going to stop. Like you can't call the cops because you don't have a phone. You know, so.
That's why I'm just trying to position myself from that.
That angle.
That childish perspective where this is your world. This is what you find. This is not.
And it wasn't sad.
Yeah.
It's just like I was just like, okay, well, like because I'm mute, I watch everything, and that's how my mom communicated. I watched her communicate to me and to other people through body language and through sign language. And so behavior is my first and foremost language. So like when I'm watching something, it's speaking to me. So you know, I'm looking at trees, I'm looking at squirrels, I'm looking at life just in general, other life forms around me. That's it was communicating to me. So I was taught a lot about life by trees, by squirrels, by just general life around me, caterpillars. Right? I'm just in there watching it, and I'm just like, and as it's living, as it's going by this day, you know, like the caterpillars going across the stick and eating some leaves, right? I'm just watching it. And I've learned so many life lessons, so many things I've learned, like, you know, character building and all such stuff, things that don't speak to me. They just behave because that's how my mom. That's like so. It's like my language was behavior. That's how I spoke. And so a lot of stuff, whether I knew better or not, some things I know better now because you know studying behavior and how other people talk about behavior with different books and everything. That was like my world. So, um, so that's like you know like a little bit like how I grew up, how I grew up. Then I learned about where I am actually from, like where my blood is from. Apparently, it's like a majority of my blood is from. I'm more German than I am African American, but majority of my blood is from Gambia. The Gambia from the Hassan. No, yeah, Hassan. Is it people? Hassan tribe. The I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know a lot about it. It's the San people, and I know it's like this conglomerate of like three major tribes or something like that. A part of the Edo people or something like that.
I don't. I wouldn't. I'm not very helpful. I just know the Gambia. because I had a high school friend who was from the Gambia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I was like, okay, that's cool. But interestingly, though, the oldest, I guess, lineage of mine started in Japan, somewhere like early Japan. So I was like, I mean, it's like a very small portion, but I was like, I really love Japanese culture. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. So,
you
but
had
that
German and Gambian and Japanese.
Going to my next point was, yes, like I feel like, I mean, that's completely like what you said about, the culture of, not the culture, but like your lived experience, how you have an actual relationship with nature. That's where I come from. I oftentimes feel very ignorant when I'm around other people. And it does feel like you have to go through the schooling first to validate that actual lived experience. So I resonate with that a lot. And because I feel like that's like all of our lives to a degree. So yeah, it's definitely a sense of like you need to, and it's so backwards because it's like, how do you, just because it's not scientifically proven or scientifically discovered, means it's not valid or it's not real, right? Or it hasn't been discovered yet. But it's been discovered for a long time. It's just a pool of rich information. It's just doesn't work in our conceptual models. We can't model it, so therefore it's just an anecdotal or one-off thing, like lightning in the bottle, right? But yeah.
Which I think about society. I think about our need to organize. So even our ways of knowing, we organize and reach a consensus, and so it's just that science has made a bit more progress in that regard. And it was one way of knowing. It has contributed a lot for sure. But I think there's definitely a lot that we could benefit from braiding these knowledges together. In a more intentional way, and concrete way, like to seek out these knowledges that have been forgotten. I don't know if I should say I am privileged. I'd say I'm privileged because or maybe I was stubborn enough to first of all, coming from a background that I come from, when you get like opportunity to go to higher education, you're usually looking for work that will earn high and change your life. But I was stubborn enough to choose something like ecology, which nobody knew about, and it was just about trees and animals, and people were like, "Oh dear, what am I doing? Won't you please at least try and be a nurse?"
No.
You're going all the way across the oceans to go and learn, and you're just going to learn plants and animals. Yes.
I had so many family, some people like, "Oh man, you could be. Why don't you be a veterinarian?" I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Why don't you do this? No.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what I want to do, which is study, behavior and nature. So.
Yeah. So then that a little bit of stubbornness, a little bit of when you've got your grades and you've got the opportunity, you've put in the work. The opportunity is yours. If you have enough of a leeway to make a choice, especially as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, you go for it and you choose what you really truly believe in. I mean, gladly, it wasn't something that was going to be harmful to me. I've stuck along with it, and I've come so I'm glad. I think maybe people are still beginning to see and believe.
Yeah.
And now coming to the level of PhD, I met an advisor who's very open to in sort of marrying these two ways of knowing things.
Yes.
See, I'm in the Department of Ecology and Conservation, but my advisor is an anthropologist.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm studying culture and conservation and bringing in something so niche like an idea of Ubuntu or Ubuntu into my research, which to somebody else might have sounded like that is such that is a nebulous woolly idea. It's not gonna, what impact are you gonna make? What concrete impact? But it's the indigenous wisdom. And it's coming into the Department of Ecology and Conservation Biology. So a little bit of stubbornness, a little bit of privilege, a little bit of a blessing.
It's very serendipitous to find to find someone like that that is already attempting to marry these things. She was the road that, not to force my ideals on anybody, but God, this is how I'll interpret it. God laid down the pavement before you were even born because he knew that you were going to take it. So it's very serendipitous. It's like kind of like the stars aligned, And so it's like, oh, you're going to need this road. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down through her.
Yes.
And then when you finally meet, it's going to be what it's supposed to be. So,
I mean, you talk about like horse and horse. It's your way of seeing, isn't it? It's your way of seeing this thing, right? It's your perspective. And we're talking about making room for different perspectives right here in this moment. And look at what we're just doing right now. You see, we feel like one way of seeing has to be defend. I mean, sure, we progress through debate, but So I think that to be able to at first just acknowledge that there'll be different ways of seeing things, of understanding things is vital to progress, to science itself.
I think it's vital to life.
Yes.
It's that's why I say, because sometimes you have to kind of, I'm a big proponent, I'm a big advocate for genuineness, like being genuine. And a part of that is taking ownership for what you say and what you put out, right? I can mean the best I mean no harm to anybody and say something. But if I'm not being genuine in my understanding, like if I don't know and I don't understand that other minds exist and other temperaments exist and other perspectives exist, and the combination of that with the temperament being the forefront thing, then that's fine, But if I am aware, right, if I have been the person in that seat before, or if I've experienced it, I've heard from someone else saying it, I feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that, just like how a caterpillar is inching on the worm, inching on the branch and goes to start munching on the leaf. That's his way of life, and he's not conflicting. That's his freedom, and it's not conflicting with this frog that's living on this tree, right? And going and getting into this water, right? But they exist separately with their own philosophy, their own whatever, and all of that is what we call life, right? In their own way, doing their own things, it all works out for the good of everybody, and that's ecology. And so what I mean by the temperament of someone is that I'm aware that because of the ecosphere of humanity, right? It would be disingenuous of me with the knowledge that I have to just say something like, "I believe this." Because you can have a temperament, you come from a abusive home, not physically abusive, but verbally abusive, where people would say things, right, and imply that you believe the same thing, or to force it on you through implication or through just saying it. And you're not a offensive person, so you don't say anything. It kind of goes to that category of like, uh, if someone's doing something wrong, you may not openly object, and you may not help. You just kind of just turn a blind eye, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like silence is agreement, right?
Yes.
So I want to make sure that yes, I do want to invite other perspectives, other conversations, and stuff because that's the value in it. But I'd be disingenuous to just say something and
which
then
I want to. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, which is in conservation. Science has done exactly what you're trying not to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So, especially in we've considered in this class that I'm talking about models of national parks.
yeah,
And then transporting models of national parks such as like the Yellowstone model and taking it into places all over the world where people have a different relationship with nature. We don't live. And then especially now in an age where when we got to a point where things where species and environments and ecosystems were becoming threatened and we needed to do something fast. And we the level of threat was measured scientifically. The solutions we came up with scientifically. Wherever we went, we imposed one model of
without consulting a life that was there. Yes.
And so doing that, what did you call it? You don't want to be disingenuous. Doing that, bringing that attitude to conservation all over the world. And you said that when what was speaking or implying things or just pushing ahead without listening, and the listener is silent, the silence doesn't mean that what we've said is accepted.
Yes,
to
exactly.
them.
Exactly.
They might be alienated, creating problems. We might be creating problems that in the end will cause the collapse of the conservation of the thing.
Exactly. In that context, what I was talking about, like when talking and saying stuff, it could collapse the very conversation.
Yes.
Because, for instance, like I talk at a higher octave than you do. You talk at a much lower. It doesn't mean that what you say is less valuable than what I say. And just because your technique is different than mine does not mean that I can just whatever. So like you have to. And there's nothing wrong with saying what you want to say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you have to be super sensitive, like, oh, overly or politics. You don't want to pamper someone that can offend someone, right? You can say what you want to say. Like say, I think this is a book.
Yeah.
But I would always follow that up with, it's just my opinion, which is as is worth as much as nothing, my opinion. And that's just to say that, hey, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Right. And it's okay if you don't think it's a book. You don't think it's a cell phone or whatever. I think it's a pair of glasses, or I think this is this thing, right? I could be factually wrong, but I want to make sure I be genuine in conversation because conversation is ecology on a kind of like an abstract, localized model of ecology on a grander scale, right? So it's my way of respecting you.
Yeah, you could even like asking questions. I think this is a book. What is it to you?
Exactly.
And then like stating your understanding can be a gateway to like opening up alternative understanding. So I think this is a book. What is it to you? And listening. So in conservation, the humility to to ask questions and listen, and there's value in bringing in knowledge. I come from a place that has a saying that is like, things are like the bark of trees. We peel them off of each other,
Mhm.
off of other people.
Mhm.
It's like knowledge or
Mhm.
ways of doing things
Mhm.
are like the barks of trees. We harvest them off of others. So for example, a person, a conservationist, a wildlife biologist comes from somewhere else into the country and calls the people to a customary court and presents their ideas.
Mhm.
There is a culture of consultation and consensus making
Mhm.
where I come from. So they already have that value of being open to new ideas.
Mhm.
See, like you were describing a person who grew up in a verbally abusive environment, hear something and they know. To them, it means a shutting down.
Yes. Mhm.
This is what conservation has done in those places.
Yes. Yep.
It has come into places that are open to new ideas.
Yep.
Then presented an idea and then closed the door
Yep.
rather
Yep.
than opening up a question
Yep.
of what is your understanding.
Yeah. By doing stuff like studies have shown here in Yellowstone that conservation works best in this way. And you bring this over to Botswana and you like, here studies show this publication that was done by a person not from Botswana, person not from, not from Botswana, person not from Botswana, person not from Botswana. And these are all well respected, established scientists that have been in the field for blah, 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 reading books that's not in Botswana, that by people that's not from Botswana
Yes,
about Botswana.
yes,
And we're gonna imply we're gonna take this data that we know is proven to work in Yellowstone
yes,
here in Botswana, rather than, hey, so first of all, we would like to help and do some type of conservation here in Botswana. Um, we want to work with you guys. We have data from other conservation acts, but we first want to hear what you may think
yeah,
and get your thoughts on this. And then
yes,
how do you think that this may apply to here? Or what how can we tweak this thing or include their thoughts, right?
yes,
They can say that it's not gonna work here because first of all, we don't have wolves here. We don't have this
yeah,
here, this and that. Then this culture is different here, and blah blah blah. But you can always adapt that or just do away with it and let them construct a new thing, right?
yeah,
You know, empower them to create their own whatever, right? But you include them in that conversation. We just bring research over here. You're you're doing that. Well, this is just what that this is
okay,
what's been proven or discovered by science. So
yeah,
yeah, I completely agree.
yeah, sure. And it happens all over the world. I'm sure that in some communities here in North America, in Europe, the same happens because uh, the whole industry or the whole ecosystem around science and conservation, it 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 presents some pressures that drives action to be taken in one way.
Mm,
Yeah, we may think about funding, how what is funded, what is not funded,
yeah,
timelines,
yeah,
things like that. So I always like to dream about a time like when we'll be able to bring together indigenous wisdom and academic scientific wisdom.
mhm,
Uh, and I like to keep a balanced outlook to say that because we are emerging into that paradigm right
mhm,
now. But of course, there's a lot of practical challenges that have to.
Yeah.
If you don't sort of acknowledge that, you can suffer some discouragement. But as we start to have conversations about it, we start to sort of make changes in that whole ecosystem that surrounds the practice. We can make a transition, transformation the way.
And people downplay it, but they don't understand. Like what comes to mind is water salinity and how far. I don't know this. I don't know the exact science of this. Don't quote me, but generally, I think if I'm remembering right, when water is less salient in terms of like has less salt content, um, electricity energy doesn't. It either does or doesn't flow as far. Yeah, I think so. If it doesn't have a lot of salt in it, then it travels. It doesn't travel as far, but like the energy doesn't travel as far. It's not.
So water
But
is conductive, but when it's more
salty,
it's even
it's more conductive. Yes, but it can travel further. It can be the opposite. Don't quote me. But the reason why that brings it to mind is because when talking about when talking about the conversation of conservation.
You came up with this.
Yeah, I know, and I'm struggling with it. It's people downplay it because they say, well, what is that actually doing now? But it's like all the effort that you're putting into it, the conversation is the salt. It may not be it may not exactly, it may not be oh yeah, we got $1 million for the conversation. But no, it's building up that saliency in this in this water in this body in which we call earth, we call life, community, all of this.
It's making it more conductive to the current
exactly
change.
exactly yes. So like that's the whole point of research geographic. That's the whole point of the league, right? That is literally the whole point. Is so that we could make the conversation more about conservation, so that it's. And I've seen this comment in one of the videos or something like that. It was under Katie's video that she did, and she said something that I've said before. That I'm sure she said before I said it. Whatever, it doesn't matter who said it. The point is the fact that it's true. He said that everybody has the capacity to think like a scientist. Everybody has the capacity to think about conservation. There's a comment that was like, that's something along the lines of like, that's nice, but with that would be nice, but the fact is that everybody can't. And that's a lie.
Well, I was just about to say that something that I appreciate about the research geographic right now is that we are two PhD students, right? We are supposed to be experts in our own lane, in our own fields, right? But it's giving us a platform to come and be ignorant about conductiveness of materials. So there can be so much pressure to say I'm a scientist. I know when you're at a PhD level, and so I know how to think like a scientist. And so we're getting the platform here that we are two PhDs who are equally capable of being ignorant.
Yes.
So whoever is out there thinking that they are ignorant, they are equally capable of thinking.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, thinking in their indigenous wisdom.
Yes. Exactly. Because the parameters in which that I'm sure that person that commented that was speaking to is like everybody doesn't have the capacity to think about science. They're thinking about empirical science. They're thinking about, oh, well, do you know how to put together quadratic equation of blah 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 blah, right? Can you do the math? Can you do this? Can you like? It's like, there's people who discovered medicine who didn't even know how to properly. Um, there's a guy online. There's a guy online who.
What was science before we called it science? It was just people thinking.
Yeah, like it's this guy online who does the let's see. I know it's on YouTube. The old man paint gets paint color right without measurements. Yeah, let's try that. That should actually get us there. This guy. Let me pull it up here. This guy right here.
This old man has a unique capacity. His eyes are extremely profound, which means his whole life was spent in color production. This woman hands him an object that has a blue color tint. Well, look at what the man is able to do. He takes a good hard look at the object and analyzes the color of it. And just after a few minutes, using his chemicals and his adequate equipment, he's able to produce the exact same color as the object. At first, he adds a few colors that seem unrelated: white, black, purple, and even red. So right now, it looks totally different, but now look as he mixes it all up. He has the exact same shade of blue. Beautiful. This old man has a unique capacity.
So this is that person that made that comment about not everybody has the capacity to think about science. If he can do it without the proper measurements and blah 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 and whatever, there's people that's been doing this, creating medicine, creating ways to make crops grow better, plant soil science. All this was already being done. That's why at the beginning I was talking about, like, quote unquote discovery, right? Because it's like you didn't discover jack. Because if you ran into it and you experienced it and that inspired you, that means it was already there.
Yeah.
It already existed, right? So this guy, he ain't no PhD in color science. He's just a guy that does paint, and that's the kind of intrinsic knowledge, the intrinsic genius that's within culture that's being discounted, right? That's somebody could go to him and get that stuff painted the right way, get the right shade or whatever for like $10.
Yeah.
But you would rather go to a professional who has a degree in color science and blah 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 and discount this guy who's been doing this for years and whatever else, and you're discounting culture.
That is
so he's thinking about science. He's just not using the stuff that you're using. Like, he's not using the scientific method.
He has observed. He has tried and tried. He has perfected the skill he used. Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, that's what's being discounted. Everybody has capacity to think about science. The only thing that differentiates between a scientist, a researcher that thinks about science is a science, and a lay person that just thinks about science is that a scientist doesn't stretch the truth. They build they think in a scientific way. And what does that mean? That means that I'm going to not run haywire with something. I'm not going to fall prey to the Dunning-Kruger effect, where I just learned a little bit about something and now I know everything about it. I'm going to just assume.
There's
right?
a lot of accountability with that. Yeah, it's what I was saying, that yes, there's a lot of a whole race of humans. We need to organize. We need to have measures of accountability. We need to be able to set standards of how are we gonna take knowledge and say that this knowledge is reliable for us to make real world decisions based on it. Yes. It's just a shame that some societies that had alternatives, ways of organizing and making knowledge and vetting that knowledge were sort of, we're human beings. We go to war, we dominate each other, and then we lose valuable things, improving our strength and might, and to our own advantage, and then to the collective disadvantage.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So if we realize at some point, if we're wise enough to realize that, okay, we did do it this way, but we lost something that could be valuable. We usually go back to it, but it's sometimes we don't give credit where it's due. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
But this has been a very nice conversation.
about conservation.
Yeah.
Didn't you want to? You had something that you about some indigenous people. Did you want to include that?
I feel like it's. I don't want to, because it could swing the whole conversation to climate change, to something that's already talked about.
Oh,
It's trending. It's nation to get lost in.
oh. This was about climate change.
Yes.
I thought it was about like kind of like you know what was going on in like Hawaii with the big telescope and the government of like Hawaii, or like not the government, like the people of Hawaii, like fighting back and forth with um the scientists that's trying to erect a telescope there, and they're like basically putting on this really tall mountain that's like sacred, and they're trying to tell the indigenous people that they can't go there. It's blocked off to them. It's only for only researchers and stuff.
You see?
Yeah, yeah.
No, but this one is like a climate change conference that happens every year. This is the 30th one held in, and the indigenous groups want it because it's usually politicians that are given. It's a United Nations thing. So politicians come together and discuss their commitments to climate change and negotiate with each other.
But they don't include the indigenous people
Yes, so
in the conversation.
Yeah, people were like, we have lands that contribute to climate change mitigation, and we want to keep our lands. We want them to be protected, and we want to have a conversation with the chairperson of this whole conference. And they came together. They blocked the way into the meeting, and they got to talk to him, and they got a result.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm just for everybody there to see us, to them to see us. But this is what we're talking about here. I think that still falls in line with what we were talking about. We don't have to watch it though. Somebody can go. Yeah, you guys got the website here, but yeah. So that's like a lot of times. I feel like the obvious thing as to why they don't include indigenous people. To me, the first thing that comes to mind is um, they don't want other like conversations. Like they don't, cause like when you're trying to accommodate everybody, say if we're all like 5 people here, are you trying to scroll?
Yeah, to maybe the title. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if you're trying to accommodate 5 people in there and you want to respect all 5 people's opinion and stuff, we could string out a conversation and really kind of ultimately get nowhere if you include too many people, And so that's like my first thought. Like if I was to put myself in there, like in the people that they're protesting against, in their shoes, and try to be as genuine, like not paint them in a bad light, but like, okay, well, let me put myself in their shoes. Try to think of what they may be thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to this is the way that as a society we've agreed that we'll organize ourselves. We elect politicians to represent. But I think that's just groups that are consistently not represented even by the people that they've voted for to go and represent them. So that's when it feels like there's groups that are consistently not being represented.
Yeah. I still, even if I put myself in their shoes or try to put myself in their shoes, I still would think to myself like, well, if it's 5 of us here, we don't want to add a 6th person who here doesn't really need to be here, because I know one representative needs to be here, which is the native people here. They definitely need to be here. So if all 5 of us have to be here, then we need to accommodate the sixth person. You know, there's just one extra person. But then my mind goes to, well, they probably don't do that because, and this is where I fall out of the whole not trying to paint them in a bad light, because in my experience, the more intelligent a creature is, to me, kind of just, I haven't tested this or anything like that, but it seems to, the more intelligent, like if an animal is going through life, the more intelligent it becomes. Let's say this is a um, predator, this is like non-predator behavior, it tends to skew towards predatory behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that they don't because the indigenous people probably aren't as wealthy.
Yeah.
So therefore, they don't include them because they can't bargain with them
Exactly.
because for that, you know, for that reason. So that's what my second thought on that would be as to why they wouldn't do it. If I try to put myself in their shoes, you know, well, who's
The
worth?
words that I used to describe the people who are at the negotiating tables is usually elite. What's elite if not money?
Yep.
And power and
Yep.
privilege.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely they everything we just talking about, like it needs to be. I mean, this is like my way of trying to encourage that through like conversation, um, and make all these high level conversations that gate kept by elites, bringing it down. I know a lot of people don't like that. They're like, oh well, no, we should bring them up. Well, that inherently means that you have to basically count out like 70 or 80% of the population because 70, 80% of the population don't have access to this level of education. They don't have access. They don't have the, if they do have access, they don't have the um, credentials to be a part of this conversation, right? So it's like I'm taking it, bringing it down, not dumbing down anything. I'm just making it more accessible where people can be a part of the conversation, rather than just looking at someone else be a part of the conversation, right? So
it's very like akin to the research geographic platform. You know, we were talking about how to be scientists in the Department of Ecology and Conservation Biology have to bring our academic excellence first. So it's killing off the experience, the lived experience part of ourselves, like what you just described for us at the beginning, what I went to do at the beginning of my life as well. It's almost like we have to discredit that part. That's not the part that made us scientists. It's our grades, it's our excellence, it's our entry into universities. But for us to be able to be having this conversation right now, for sure, it's those parts, the non-graded parts of ourselves, the lived wisdom parts of ourselves, and then the non the certificate holding parts of our community, the parts of our community that have wealth that cannot be captured in money, need to be represented just like ours need to be represented holistically. Yeah, just so we don't have we have a lot of evidence that we are good at creating solutions that create problems. So there's plenty of room to keep considering alternatives.
Yeah, you definitely have to. You definitely have to, especially like in society as we go forward into the future, because exactly what you just said, we're good at creating solutions that cause problems. Um, on the flip side of that, we are only here today because of the what we call here in modernity the ignorance in invaluable knowledge of those who came before us.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
like,
exactly.
you know, you have to
True.
like
That
right
is-
brain is like, okay, well, we got to do something. So we do something. We know it's going to be only time. I've always said this, that a decision isn't. You can't know if a decision is a good decision or a bad decision.
Yes.
You can never tell.
Yes.
Only time can tell if it's a good
Yes.
decision or a bad decision. You can't ever just do something right now. Like, oh, this could be a good decision.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
I
I
don't.
mean, that is. I took a decision making module on LinkedIn Learning,
Mhm.
and that's decision making 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't make a decision based on outcome. Make it based on information that's
Yep.
available
Yep.
and accept the outcome.
Yep. So you literally have to accept it out exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to just try to learn from what you didn't do, or like why did you come to that conclusion, and just try again. And you know you're gonna be wrong.
Now you have information from the
Mhm.
outcome. That's additional information.
Mhm,
Maybe it
mhm.
tells you that the alternative would have created.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason why. Which I think that's why I feel like I want to say I know, but I can't say that I know. And that's a part of thinking like a scientist, right? You can't just say you know.
Yeah.
That's what most people say. And you fall into a problem doing that. But you can say, be genuine and say, you know, I think,
Yeah.
I really feel like, which is subjective.
Yeah, you can have an inkling. I think scientists have had inklings and they pursue that. They go into their labs and test and do experiments to say, I have an inkling that this might work this way.
Yeah.
Can I get the evidence?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. So I feel like that's the reason why this big push towards like AI is a big thing, because as much as sophisticated we want to say that we are as human beings in modern times, you can't escape the fact that you can't help but making mistakes. And a lot of that just because of people die that have information from the past. We don't in modern times include indigenous people. We don't include native people who within their culture, through their stories, through their traditions, pass on that information to regardless of who dies. That's how information from the past exists and live on to the future. But since we don't include them, we don't gather that data, we're only left with there's two parts. It's one, every decision you make is always a bad decision until time says otherwise. That's one half of it. So we're aware of that, and we're using AI to try to like combat that.
Yeah.
And then
that is, I
then
see what you're saying.
we're not considering the other side, which is, oh well, man, because we're limited human beings and we can't remember everything. You're gonna forget. And you can't rely on history like you can't rely on what's in the textbooks, because whoever comes into power in Rome, whoever wins the war, gets to tell the future in the books. So it's only through culture, it's only through tradition and culture in which you can hold and crystallize the information from the past, regardless of who dies. And with that information, that's the only way that you can carry that into the future to inform a better decision, to make this walk. But we're trying to use AI, and we're basically discarding half of our brain because of the limitation of remembering. We don't want to consider the indigenous and the local people. So we're just like, whatever, we're just going to kill that part. And we're trying to replace it with a robot to help inform us to make a better decision, which directly flies into the face of the whole fact of like
reflective of so many things that we do. That's also typical of us and our love for development and progress and all of that. We will go and get bottled plastic water instead of not polluting our sources of water.
But then the dumb thing is this: AI is only going to be as smart as what you put into it.
Yeah.
So if AI is only being caught up on things that are only scientifically discovered. We've already established that there's a lot of information that hasn't been scientifically discovered that culture holds.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not going to fix the problem because it's only going to be as smart as you're going to be with the limited information that you choose to have. So you need to include the conversation with other people that you don't believe have the capacity to think about science. So
these different cultures, if they moved together, they could check each other's mistakes. I mean, that makes a good point to say that it's not to glorify, like to pretend like indigenous wisdoms, societies built on indigenous knowledge would not have had their failures, for sure.
Yeah.
But there would have been some strengths that if we combine from different ways of knowing from different cultures could complement each other, which is what we're trying to do with AI, I guess, what you're saying.
It's the whole
Instead of
it's just because cultures change extremely slow and they have tradition, which makes sure that the information from the past does not get lost. And since it's so archaic, we don't want to be human. We don't want to be human. We want to evolve continuously. But to be human is the intermittent relationship between how we walk. Like it's like you can't walk without one foot being behind and other one foot being forward.
In. Have you heard the concept of carbon lock-in? It's like we've locked ourselves into a system that depend on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So when we think about halting or doing anything different, it's like everything depends. This depends on a fossil fuel to make plastic. Much dependency. We've locked ourselves into a momentum that is we're hustling somewhere, and we are afraid that we might crash if we stop and accept that we went the wrong way.
Yeah.
So we do need to be
like imagine if your left foot, like if you're walking and your left foot just instead of like taking a step that's far enough but not too far to where the other foot can pick up and do the same. If you just got one foot left behind and then the other foot just like stretched super far, like you just left this other foot behind, you're like, I mean, of course you're gonna be afraid that you're gonna like you're gonna fall because
you're gonna fall and hurt yourself and not be able to move.
You ever walk on a step?
Yeah.
And it's like dark or whatever. Like you're walking down the step, and either down the step or up the step. It don't matter. But you remembered where you thought that there was a step.
Yes.
And you tried to step on something that wasn't there.
Yes.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
Yes,
you know, it's like you're gonna step on something because you're gonna expect something to be there to catch you, and that's what tradition and culture does. It restrains you from taking that gamble, too much of a gamble, so that you can just, okay, and the mistake is minimal, but you can't make minimal mistakes without the culture restraining you, without the quote unquote dumb part, the dumb humans, the non-scientific humans. You can't do that without them.
Yes.
So you're destined to make a catastrophic mistake.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to walk with 2 feet. You want to walk with one.
With one. We're so married to progress, development, moving forward. But I have hope, and I think for those of us interested in the alternative, it is important to sort of like gentle parent ourselves along, because it can sometimes feel like you are going against the current, or you are refusing to swim as fast as the current. Or you might even it might even start to feel like it affects you like on a personal existential level. Like will I will I prosper as much in science and if I'm focusing on these unpopular things?
Yeah.
I think that I see a lot of positive in it.
Yeah.
Just as long as we don't sort of twist the story of indigenous knowledge and create a new type of indigenous. We do need like that to watch against becoming disingenuous again and sort of supplanting science into the indigenous. We need to watch.
Leave them, like, let it be original. Don't try to warp it. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like you said, I think that us as people that come from that relationship with nature, and now we've come to this level of PhD, and most people at this level is on that side or whatever else. So a lot like how the brain works and how action potentials work. We must act as like a inhibitor. Because if the brain just wants to keep firing, it wants to keep going, super fast, whatever, leave them behind. I agree that it's a good deed, it's a good calling, it's a good service to act as an inhibitor, as those who are up here, to slow them down, like raise the bar for an action potential to even happen. So if we slow it down, if we can draw that connection, because right now it's so far apart that if we can, us that's up here that came from here, if we could purposefully be here in the middle, they can't go that far without us. And that allows time for them to catch up. And so then we can act as a bridge between the two.
A bridge intermediary, because of course we've already bought into the science, into that part. And we are sort of ourselves have somehow been drawn back to that middle because we are interested in what's being left behind. And so
So
I get that.
So yeah. You think you want to end it off here?
Yeah, we're going to 6:20 now.
Okay.
Either 6:15.
Well, we're going to end it off here.
Yeah,
we have been the league. We'll have more people on. You'll see us shift around different people, but it's been good talking to you, Otshabile. Very enlightening. I think it's very fruitful. I hope the people who are watching leave a lot of comments, join the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning, it's been a good conversation
about conservation. You didn't want to take a stab at it. I didn't want to mess up. So yeah. We hope we have been a enriching league for you. We let's see. We follow us on Instagram right there. This little thing right there. And this Research Geographic is partnered with the ABS program here at Texas A&M. And then right there under Otshabile.
Right here.
Right up under you.
Oh,
Yeah, right there.
Here. Yeah. What? You were doing very well.
Yeah, the ABS program is nested in the Ecology and Conservation Biology department. So yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Most times in like editing like kind of stuff. So this is so I don't have to edit it. We just point at it and like, hey, it's already there. It is like kind of interactive for us. So but yeah, follow us there. I need to put the YouTube thing up there too. So go to
it can be right where my cup is, right?
Yeah.
It can be YouTube.
Go to YouTube. Follow us at Research Geographic, not National Geographic. Also, I want to say that we are not affiliated with National Geographic or the NBA. The logo looks that way because I want to make the NBA, or I want to make research and thinking about conservation as popular as the NBA. So not to say that we wouldn't like to work with the NBA or National Geographic. I would love to. We would love to. But yeah, I just want to say that just so that no one gets confused and we don't get kind of like stop copying us. Not copying. We're just modeling. We're modeling you. For a greater cause, for a better cause that I think maybe you guys would align with. So, hit us up. Anyways, on YouTube, Research Geographic is where you'll see this podcast. Actually, why am I saying that? You can be looking at this on YouTube. So, yeah, whatever.
It's difficult living in the real world and the virtual world.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah,
Thank
it's been
you
good.
for allowing me to rumble on what's been on my mind this week.
Yeah, no problem. We've been the league. We'll see you next time.